didn't know how to direct this topic or address this topic. Sorry about that. I didn't know how to address it because I just didn't want to feel like I was talking about any particular person or persons at all. And it's not really anything about pop culture or anyone in the news. But I like to talk a little about story structure and modern day writing, if that's okay with you. Now, we do know that the basic plot elements in the story should be man versus nature, man versus man. Third one, not too sure about, but man versus the environment, and that could be society, that could be another person, that could be anyone. And if it's not accurate, you let me know in the comment section, and I'll be sure to apologize for that. But for right now, I do know those are the basic elements of story writing. There are more plots that can grow out of those three, but those are really the building blocks of a story that I can imagine. What I'm finding today is that there are a lot of storytellers who really don't know how to write a story. They don't know how to put the story together, the plot. And that's unfortunate because we have so many ideas to draw from, so many that can, and it doesn't have to take AI to produce those words for us. But I think that the reason why people would use AI or depend on it is because AI has a better idea how to write a story than we human beings. And of course, that goes with the research that goes into it. But I find that we're not good storytellers today, and we're not good writers of plot. You know, I would say back in the 1950s and 60s, you had great writers and authors all over the place, right? You can go over from spy fiction to science fiction to drama to romance, up and down the landscape. People like Fleming, Hemingway, Matheson, Serling, Stefano. You had writers up and down the mediums, whether it was television or in books. And even the great writers for the television shows like The Twilight Zone and The Outer Limits. I just mentioned Joseph Stefano's name. These are all great writers, and this is why most of the inspiration for the ideas today came out of that era. You know, came out of the 50s and 60s, and even before that. Um, Great writers always produced great ideas, and they knew exactly what to write about, and not just about the usual topics of today. Now, I have discussions with a family member, and we talk about these things a lot, especially when it comes to writing. And one thing we can say is that a lot of the extra stuff gets in the way, right? The extra stuff is good, but if you can frame it in the story, that's just as good. For example, Silence Martyr had was a novel written by George Eliot, who was a woman. He used the pen name of George Eliot. Wrote about Silas Marner. You remember Silas Marner was a man who found a child at his doorstep and eventually raised that child or helped to take care of that child. Now, today we would add a social label on it, right? He would be a surrogate father, so to speak. But really, it was just a tale about a man taking care of a child that was not his. Or in the classic story that I drew inspiration from in Relay, The Three Musketeers. With the Three Musketeers, I won't even say the names, but you do know that the theme of that story by Alexandre Dumas was all about friendship, camaraderie, brotherhood, partnership, and love. And when you go to the classics, you do know exactly that the story elements are there, and they're classic, they're timeless, they can be reused over and over again, and that's just about it. It doesn't have to be about representation all the time, which is why a select group of readers or viewers are not hip to this new way of storytelling today. But your story has to connect with the reader in some way. If your reader is not persuaded to see your point of view as a writer or an author, then they're not going to connect. You're not going to connect the reader to the work, and that's unfortunate because as much time as we as authors and writers write for the public, we have to write to connect to the audience. We have to put something in our tales to make sure that they truly understand what we're talking about and how we express it. Not saying we should not have social commentary in our works or write about social issues in our work. It's just the fact that we have to connect to the reader or the viewer exactly what we're trying to express to them. Rod Serling is another example of a writer who is connecting to his audience through his works. Now, I do know that he wrote for television and was a great writer, television or whatever form or medium that you choose to put him in, but he was a great writer. And most of his stories are timeless because it's about the human condition. It's about us as human beings, and anyone who has been on this earth can relate to his stories, even 60 years out, right? Richard Matheson, great science fiction author, wrote a variety of novels that are still today, even one that's being remade into a second movie, I Am Legend. He wrote that novel years and years ago. And when it was made into an Italian film, changed his name, but still, he wrote about situations that we, the audience, can connect with. What if we were the last person on earth fighting a horde of vampires? That's something to consider if you're a reader. You want to get into the meat of the story. But I'm seeing today, and I'm watching a lot of videos online about writers who have not yet connected to the audience, who want to express their views pro and against social issues of the day, and they wind up not connecting with the audience. In fact, I happened to read one of those stories, and I found that something just didn't add up. Something wasn't right. And I really hope by the second story I read from this person that, again, things just didn't add up. In fact, it really deviated from the first story that I read. The second one hardly made any sense. That's just my thoughts. But I would say that we have to do a better job connecting with our audience because they're the ones that we are hoping that will support our works, buy our works, and mention to their family and friends and pass it around. Just say, hey, good job. That's all we ever want. That's all we need, to listen to the audience. And not to say that we should be in the whims of the audience all the time, but just listen to what they say, what they can get out of our stories. So if we spend time writing these things, stories or whatever, then we should at least listen to our audience. So I would just say that the age of storytelling, the age of modern storytelling today, can be a whole lot better. And I know the classics were written by one set of what I was gonna say that word, but it was written by one set of a culture, ethnicity. Sorry, that wrote those, but still, there's something we can learn from if we're happen to be students of literature, students of the art, and use the very same themes and plot devices to update them to today. You know, instead of having swords and proclaiming you're the Three Musketeers, you're a varsity track team from Appleton High School hoping to win the state championship. Use the same themes and adapt them to your modern day storytelling. But again, that's only my suggestion. It's really not me criticizing anybody or telling them, hey, you should do better. It's hoping encouragement for all of us to do a little better in our writing. I can be better as I continue to write and continue to get better. I hope that each and every one of you who have supported my works or plan to support my works will understand that. And I would just say, please give the modern storytellers an opportunity to understand that what they're doing today can be a little better if they just tweak a few things and leave out all the extra stuff out. And if they do that, the stories will resonate with each and every one of us, and we'll have a much better society that's literate, and not only literate, but understanding good, entertaining literature. And that's all we ever want, right? I'm sure we do. I want to thank you for watching this channel and supporting my work. If you are so inclined, and your first time watching this, I do have a website. It's in the banner up above. And you like more of this content, you like me more talking about life every day or about writing, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave a like and a comment if you so desire. But I would end with this, that as we move further into the 21st century, that good storytelling is always going to be at the forefront of what we do as an author or writer, and just trying to connect with the audience so that they continue to buy our works. That's all we ever want. It's good to state our social views on a subject, but if the reader does not get it, they never will, and that's just it. So I thank you so much for watching. Have a good day, evening, week, and always in closing, take care.